He's telling a story in the stars. Satan counterfeits everything, but those are Christ's stars. You've got an entire prison planet set up, ready to eat you. Go read Revelation. There's a rescue coming. But you can see it setting up. This video, the thesis is about the timing. The timing is closing in, it would appear, from what I'm seeing in Scripture, what we're seeing all around us. Okay, so let's go over to Christian and see what's cooking with you're not going to have food anymore soon. So he's talking about how one of the techniques that they've used for closing down food plants is to freak the people out with testing. And there's been more information forthcoming in this double-tongued lie that the tests are so sensitive they're picking up everything and coding for positive for the lie. And between an 80 and 90% false positive is showing up, and it is not true. It is not true. But they don't care because they still want to get this thing stuck in you so that you can become part of the one world system, the participant in the kingdom. And as a participant in the kingdom, you don't need to have food that is grown the old agricultural style of animals and mating and so on and so forth and all of that. And while there's certainly reforms and whatnot that should take care and be used, they're like, no, we'll just kill all the animals and we'll make lab grown this and that for you. And you will see this monopoly that they will have on food as well as controlling everything else. And then if you don't get into this one world everything, then they just shut you out of the system.
Saw a headline today from the CDC that said 90% of these tests are fallacious.
Yep.
So the whole testing situation is a disaster. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, the Democratic establishment was working so quickly to push them at the meat workers and to push them at the farm workers so we could shut down the food supply.
Yeah.
It's totally obvious at this point. Ladies and gentlemen, there are forces at work now to engineer global food shortages in order to bring about a new world order, a global communist totalitarian state that will take the place, override all of the sovereign nation states. Now, the same group of people, I will argue tonight, is behind both the efforts to engineer chaos into the elections of 2020, caused tremendous civil unrest, talk about minorities being disenfranchised because of the post-service. There's a number of things going on right now that these people are doing to cause the elections to devolve into civil unrest and perhaps even a civil war. But importantly, the same group of people is also behind the labor unions and organizations that are pulling farmers out of the farms with the crops unharvested and the workers out of the meat factories and shutting them down. And we need to understand this so that we can fight back and spread the word about this and keep our elections and our food supply integrity in check.
Okay, well, the elections are a farce. You are wasting your time. They have already decided well in advance of what they're going to do. It's just an illusion that you have a locus of control with regard to that. You do not. The only thing that you have a measure of control over in this world and in this life is getting into Jesus. And if you don't, then there is a division coming. We might talk about that in a moment, but he just goes on to highlight some points here. Significant amounts of grain remain unharvested, and even when harvested, a significant percentage was lost during processing, transportation, or storage. And then also him and other channels have discussed with you that there have been a number of, oh no, the fire has started and taken out an entire food holding facility. Just, we don't know what happened. It just blew up. Or another, these attacks have happened all over the world. Like, oh no, target food. Like, oh no, if you're the food, run. Because you're going to be targeted for destruction because they are trying to bring about the conditions that Christ then would tell you. So cause and effect, and Christ would tell you is the effect. Again, the thesis of this video, it looks like we're wrapping up. It looks like the division is coming. It looks like they're setting up the conditions for those who wish to be part of this world system. And there's all kinds of people that have been working on this goal, talking about this, figuring out how to do this, figuring out how to destroy the food chain supply for a long time, written white papers on it, written, different briefings and things like that. So they have studied it. And then, so this whole thing is just a manufactured lie, a deception, just like your Lord said, exactly like your Lord said. And now we're sitting here watching this commotion, and it's getting more violent, and it's getting weirder. And what will happen when the world doesn't have food? Did you ever wonder when you read Revelation, what in the heck happened that there'd be a global famine? Like, did you ever wonder? And I bet you never, I didn't either. I bet you never said, you know what, it's going to be some Masons at the top that just pull all these triggers and destroy the food supply. We probably just thought that it was God. It was God doing it all over the world. It's not God. God is sweet and kind. The final book of Habakkuk is talking about, because he has had an encounter with God and God is showing him his solution to the problem of evil. His magnum opus is his solution to the problem of evil, getting into the one new mankind in Christ. And he will just fix the earth with his fixed people. Well, Habakkuk is drinking this in, right? And he is explaining that when there's no fruit on the vine, when everything has been taken, when nothing is growing, when it is absolute chaos, that Christ is the Lord. And he doesn't really, those are my words, that's my paraphrase, because he doesn't know about the Messiah yet, Habakkuk. But he knows the Messiah will be coming. Let's just go to Habakkuk 3 really quick here. NIV, I don't like that. I don't. Let's listen.
Habakkuk 3. A prayer of Habakkuk the prophet upon Shigionoth. O Lord, I have heard thy speech, and was afraid. O Lord, revive thy work in the midst of the years, in the midst of the years make known. In wrath, remember mercy. God came from Teman, and the Holy One from Mount Paran, Selah. His glory covered the heavens, and the earth was full of his praise, and his brightness was as the light. He had horns coming out of his hand, and there was the hiding of his power. Before him went the pestilence, and burning coals went forth at his feet. He stood and measured the earth. He beheld, and drove asunder the nations, and the everlasting mountains were scattered. The perpetual hills did bow. His ways are everlasting. I saw the tents of Cushan in affliction, and the curtains of the land of Midian did tremble. Was the Lord displeased against the rivers? Was thine anger against the rivers? Was thy wrath against the sea? That thou didst ride upon thine horses and thy chariots of salvation? Thy bow was made quite naked, according to the oaths of the tribes, even thy word. Selah. Thou didst cleave the earth with rivers. The mountains saw thee, and they trembled. The overflowing of the water passed by, the deep uttered his voice, and lifted up his hands on high. The sun and moon stood still in their habitation. At the light of thine arrows they went, and at the shining of thy glittering spear. Thou didst march through the land in indignation. Thou didst thresh the heathen in anger. Thou wentest forth for the salvation of thy people, even for salvation with thine anointed. Thou woundest the head out of the house of the wicked, by discovering the foundation unto the neck, Selah. Thou didst strike through with his staves the head of his villages. They came out as a whirlwind to scatter me. Their rejoicing was as to devour the poor secretly. Thou didst walk through the sea with thine horses, through the heap of great waters. When I heard, my belly trembled, my lips quivered at the voice. Rottenness entered into my bones, and I trembled in myself, that I might rest in the day of trouble. When he cometh up unto the people, he will invade them with his troops. Although the fig tree shall not blossom, neither shall fruit be in the vines. The labor of the olive shall fail, and the fields shall yield no meat. The flock shall be cut off from the fold, and there shall be no herd in the stalls. Yet I will rejoice in the Lord. I will joy in the God of my salvation. The Lord God is my strength, and he will make my feet like hinds' feet, and he will make me to walk upon mine high places, to the chief singer on my
stringed instruments. I would need to sit and pour through this. I'm not 100% sure what's going on here, but the idea here is that this is kind of a what are those, a rhetorical question. The rivers and the water seems to be reacting here, and you can read about that in Luke if that is in fact what is happening here. And this is another clue and piece of the puzzle on Judgment Day, on the day of the Lord when he comes back. And this is a rhetorical question. Was the Lord displeased against the rivers? Was thine anger against the rivers? No. No, it was against the human creation that rejected him, not the non-human creation. Was thy wrath against the sea, that thou didst ride upon thy horses and thy chariots of salvation? Very interesting. You can also read about in Psalm 95 and Revelation 10. There's all this language having to do with the earth and the water, the river. This is interesting too. The deep uttered his voice and lifted up his hands on high. Talking about the overflowing of water. Like, is creation itself commiserating with the creator or something? The sun and the moon stood still in their habitation. At the light of thine arrows they went. At the shining of thy glittering spear. Boy, you go look up arrows and spear. That is completely in tandem with God calling on their trumpet a sound of war. I'm at war with humanity that did not follow directions. And people just tend to ignore Revelation 10, and I think it might go with this. That one is forth for the salvation for thy people, even for salvation with thine anointed. Thou woundest the head of the house of the wicked by discovering the foundation of the neck. I'm not sure what all that means, but there is something significant going on here. Thou didst strike through with, I don't know what this means, staves the head of the villages. They came out as a whirlwind to scatter me. Their rejoicing was as to devour the poor secretly. You know, we have talked a lot about there's a plan brewing to come after you from the ultra wealthy. Thou said, walk through the sea with thine horses through heaps of great waters. Now, the only thing is this language with horses makes me think of Revelation 19 because he does come on horseback. But then there might be something more going on with this horse language too, because I'm seeing a lot of connection actually with the beginning, not the end, but the beginning uh, of the tribulation as well. So he's saying that when he heard what was going on, it made him sick. And he talks about that he might rest in the day of trouble. That's another aspect of him coming and raising the dead to life and giving them flesh, as glorified flesh, as well as the people that he has come to save. Very interesting language here. You also see this issue of a change, that there must have been fruit and then something happened. And so it goes right along with, something happened to the food source. And that's part of what this video is talking about. And I'll give you links so that you can check out the rest of Christian's video. He will to make me walk on high places. That is very much in keeping with this coming salvation. If you look here in Matthew 25, the whole theme of all of what's going on in 25 is division, 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 division between the fake and the real. And God can tell which is which. He's not dumb. He's the most intelligent creator. If you just keep this in the background,
Matthew
judgment,
25.
Judgment and division.
Then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins, which took their lamps, and went forth to meet the bridegroom. And 5 of them were wise, and 5 were foolish. They that were foolish took their lamps, and took no oil with them. But the wise took oil in their vessels with their lamps. While the bridegroom tarried, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight there was a cry made, Behold, the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him. Then all those virgins arose, and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said unto the wise, Give us of your oil, for our lamps are gone out. But the wise answered, saying, Not so, lest there be not enough for us and you. But go ye rather to them that sell, and buy for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and they that were ready went in with him to the marriage, and the door was shut. Afterward came also the other virgins, saying, Lord, Lord, open to us. But he answered and said, Verily I say unto you, I know you not.
Division.
Watch therefore, for ye know neither the day nor the hour wherein the Son of Man cometh.
Feast of Trumpets.
For the kingdom of heaven is as a man travelling into a far country, who called his own servants, and delivered unto them his goods. And unto one he gave 5 talents, to another 2, and to another 1, to every man according to his several ability, and straightway took his journey. Then he that had received the 5 talents went and traded with the same, and made them other 5 talents. And likewise he that had received 2, he also gained other 2. But he that had received 1 went and digged in the earth, and hid his Lord's money.
Didn't get born again.
After a long time,
This one.
the Lord of those servants cometh, and reckoneth with them. And so he that had received 5 talents came, and brought other 5 talents, saying, Lord, thou deliverest unto me 5 talents. Behold, I have gained beside them 5 talents more. His Lord said unto him, Well done, thou good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of thy Lord.
He got born again and helped
He
others
also that
too.
had received 2 talents came and said, Lord, thou deliverest unto me 2 talents. Behold, I have gained 2 other talents beside them. His Lord said unto him, Well done, good and faithful servant. Thou hast been faithful over a few things. I will make thee ruler over many things. Enter thou into the joy of thy Lord. Then he which had received the 1 talent came and said, Lord, I knew thee that thou art an hard man, reaping where thou hast not sown, and gathering where thou hast not strawed. And I was afraid, and went, and hid thy talent in the earth. Lo, there thou hast that is thine. His Lord answered and said unto him, Thou wicked and slothful servant,
Didn't get born again.
thou knewest that I reap where I sowed not, and gather where I have not strawed. Thou oughtest therefore to have put my money to the exchangers, and then at my coming I should have received mine own with usury.
At least you
Take
got
therefore
born
the
again.
talent from him, and give it unto him which hath 10 talents. For unto every one that hath shall be given, and he shall have abundance. But from him that hath not shall be taken away even that which he hath. And cast ye the unprofitable servant into outer darkness.
Division.
There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth.
Division.
When the Son of Man shall come in his glory, and all the holy angels with him, then shall he sit upon the throne of his glory. And before him shall be gathered all nations, and he shall separate them one from another, as a shepherd divideth his sheep from the goats. And he shall set the sheep on his right hand, but the goats on the left. Then shall the king say unto them on his right hand, Come, ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was an hungered, and ye gave me meat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me in. Naked, and ye clothed me. I was sick, and ye visited me. I was in prison, and ye came unto me. Then shall the righteous answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee an hungered, and fed thee, or thirsty, and gave thee drink? When saw we thee a stranger, and took thee in, or naked, and clothed thee? Or when saw we thee sick, or in prison, and came unto thee? And the king shall answer and say unto them, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye have done it unto one of the least of these my brethren, ye have done it unto me. Then shall he say also unto them on the left hand, Depart from me, ye cursed, into everlasting fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was an hungered, and ye gave me no meat. I was thirsty, and ye gave me no drink. I was a stranger, and ye took me not in. Naked, and ye clothed me not. Sick, and in prison, and ye visited me not. Then shall they also answer him, saying, Lord, when saw we thee an hungered, or athirst, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister unto thee? Then shall he answer them, saying, Verily I say unto you, inasmuch as ye did it not to one of the least of these, ye did it not to me. And these shall go away into everlasting punishment, but the righteous into life.
So this one, I understand and have always been told that this is at the end of the tribulation. And again, it's another division. Um, so God does not consequence everybody the same way, but rather he divides them and consequences them based on what they did with his commands. So bringing this to a close here, just real quick to back it up to 24, which is not the only gospel that discusses this, but we're going to discuss this. He starts talking about the beginning of the sorrows. This is the 7-year tribulation. This is the time of Jacob's trouble for the unbeliever, for the slave, who did not want to get into Christ's ark, the ark of the new covenant, the renewed covenant. And it says here, it goes over a couple of the seals. For nation shall rise against nation, kingdom against kingdom. There shall be famines, pestilences, and earthquakes in diverse places. And he qualifies that and says these are the beginning of the 7-year tribulation. And then he starts talking about the 5th seal, the characteristics of the 5th seal here. They'll deliver you up. Who? These people that got cut off, but then they decided, oh no, I don't like the Antichrist. He's not nice. I want Jesus. They'll deliver you up to be afflicted, shall kill you. You shall be hated by all nations for my name's sake. It's really important to understand that this one world religion is all about getting everybody on the same page and naming the enemy, the terrorist, the bad guy as the Christian because of the nature of who Jesus is as the truth and the fact that there's only one way and he's the way. And everybody else rejecting that and being put onto one great hatred against Christianity. And he talks about the characteristics of it. There shall be many that are offended and shall betray one another and shall hate one another. I would tell you that with the thing they want to put in your arm with the credit score, if you've watched that stupid Black Mirror, it was not satire. It was not public commentary on the garbage they told you in that narrative. It's just satire. No, that's the future. And they're bringing you on board with that nonsense. I don't even watch that, and I know what it is because I've seen clips. But they're going to destroy one another, be offended, betray one another, hate one another. Right? So not only are they going to hate the Christians, they're going to hate each other. This is going to be a fun place to live, right? No. Get in that ark. Many false prophets shall rise and deceive many, and because iniquity sin shall abound, the love of many shall grow cold. Yeah, I mean, when you're telling everybody do whatever you want, but then also at the same time the Noahide laws, it's just going to be confusion, which is how the Satan works. Satan. But he that shall endure until the end shall be saved. I have never really understood that verse well, and I don't think it's the way that people typically say. I don't know if he's talking about a physical salvation or I don't know. It's in the context of all these people that are going to try to devour you. I'm not really clear on that one, to be perfectly honest with you. And this gospel of the kingdom, God's rule, God's power, God's doing, God's thing that he wants to do to make a one new mankind in Christ is still up for grabs. Shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. So all throughout the tribulation, even though they try to hamper that, it don't work. because God still has a witness. He sends angels that bring the gospel by the time you get to the halfway point. He's talking about the halfway point here. Now he's going to go in. He doesn't do this all perfectly according to order the way that Gentiles like to see order. He's doing it in chunks and bits and pieces. You have to pay attention to where he's at. So what's he going to talk about now? Because he just talked about the end. The end shall come. So he just gave a brief overview, right? He gives a preliminary, then he gives a brief overview, beginning to the end. And now he's going to go in for the major midway abomination of desolation, Satan pretending to be Gaia, Mother Earth. And when you see this, standing in the holy place, so an actual temple that they're setting up for, they want to, and John will tell you, but the mark of the beast later on, halfway through, when all this is happening, they also want to get that fake Holy Spirit mark inside your temple, your empty temple with soul, and get you to reject Jesus. Whosoever let him readeth. And then he gives instructions, and there's all kinds of instructions. I don't want to get into all of that, but do note that it is specifically in Judea, right? So Satan wants to get rid of the people that brought forth the DNA people that brought forth the Messiah, right? And he's like, run for your lives when you see the abomination of desolation. You're at the midway point now. And then it's weird because in verse 23, then he pops off with this all of a sudden, right? If any man say unto you, lo, here is Christ, or there he is, believe it not or not. I think you could very easily put in brackets, he's faking a resurrection. Oh, my voice just cracked. A techno resurrection. And this is why Christ is saying this here, I think is what's going on. For there shall also arise false Christ and false prophets, and they shall show great signs and wonders. Wait till the Internet of Things and you become wireless and you can just think, I want that pill bottle that has a chip in it, and maybe it floats on over to you, or who knows all of the insanity that they're going to bring about. But you're going to see a lot of techno signs and wonders. Plus, you're going to have this whole world bent on the worship of demons. Yay! Won't that be fun? No, it won't be fun. And he's saying, no, I actually am God because I can tell you the future, he says in 25. And then it's so weird. It's like he's almost going back to the first seal that he hasn't talked about yet. I don't think when he's talking about this, he's talking about the first seal. I'm sorry. I think that he's doing this out of order to get you to pay attention to something. And I don't love that he does it out of order either, but obviously he is God and he's much smarter than us. And there must be a reason why he's doing this out of order, which is really strange, but it makes you focus. So it's like he's going back to the first seal. Look at this. Wherefore, if they say unto you, behold, he is in the desert, do not go forth. Behold, he is in the secret chambers. God is in you. Believe it not. For as lightning cometh out of the east and shineth unto the west, so also shall the coming of the Son of Man be. And I know so many people go, well, this is at the end of the tribulation. I would tell you no. No. These verses, 26 and 27, is at the start. And 28 is, you gonna get it. Judgment is coming. And I think he's going to pair and contrast the beginning of the tribulation and is coming with, here, look at this. The end of the tribulation and is coming. There are two comings. My mouse is being evil right now. So if you start paying attention to this phrase, and we're not going to go there today because it's already getting long enough, but this lightning that cometh out of the east and shineth unto the west, so also shall the Son of Man, the coming of the Son of Man be. You can also find more information in Luke 21. And in Luke 21, you have a lot going on in that too. But when he starts talking about this phrase, you're being brought into the day of the Lord, into the day of when he comes in Revelation 10. And he checks in with the Father before he does anything, but he has the register of the names of the new creation in Christ, and he's going to redeem them. He's going to glorify them, is what's going on there. And so don't just go by what Matthew says, but check in with Luke, because Luke has some more information for you. And then this, where the carcasses, there the eagles will be also. Judgment. This is judgment language when you go check out Job and Proverbs. So now he's going to qualify and say at the end, in verse 29, immediately after the tribulation of those days, shall the sun be darkened. And I think we would have already seen this at the beginning. There's other scriptures that talk about this. It's bookended. The darkness starts with darkness, and the darkness ends with darkness. And the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven. What's up with the stars falling from heaven? See, I think that has to do with drones coming down, or something, because stars are like gaseous clouds, I believe, that are set. They don't move. And the powers of heaven shall be shaken. I think that this is happening again. And then shall appear, this is at the end now, for atonement, Feast of Atonement. And then shall appear the sign of the coming of the Son of Man in heaven. And then shall all the tribes of the earth mourn, and they shall see the Son of Man coming in the clouds of heaven with power and great glory at Feast of Atonement at the end. And he shall send out his angels with a great sound of a trumpet. This is the harvest at the very end, the gleaning of the north, south, east, and west. And they shall gather together his elect from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. People who they're the stragglers, right? They took forever to come to Christ, but they came. So that's what's going on with that. And then he's like, so this is the gist. Because of everything that I've already told you. And remember, in the context of his disciples just said, when are these things going to happen? And when is your coming? When's the end of the age? Then he like lays all this out on them, right? I mean, they must have been reeling in quiet, I'm thinking, for days after this, just trying to like remember and take in everything that he said. Plus, at the time, they didn't have the Holy Spirit in them yet. You and I do now, and so we can understand this stuff better. And so I think this is kind of one of these situations here in verse 32 where he's like, so in light of all of that, this deception that's coming, here's this other thing that you need to be aware of. And you're watching it. You're watching it right now. Now learn a parable of the fig tree. You know who that is. Israel. When his branch is yet tender. That is interesting that he uses that pronoun there, his. I'll have to look and see if that pronoun is used in the other, because it's used in all three of the synoptic gospels, just not John. Is tender and putting forth leaves. You know summer is near. Summer is like the summer of affliction, summer of judgment. Like, you gonna get it? So likewise, when you see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. What is near? This rival kingdom, this new world order, this thing that you're watching set up, this thing that wants to get inside of you. Here, put your little arm out. I have something special to put in it. And then later, here, let me have the top of your head. I have something special to put in it. And then, here, let me have your forehead or your hand. I have something really special to put in it. No! So likewise, when you see all these things, know that it is near, even at the doors. We're seeing all these things coming into being as a setup, the setup. Know that it is near. There are rival kingdoms that are coming. Do you understand that? Rival kingdoms. You have a dark kingdom that's going to get even darker, and you have God's kingdom that's coming to give the application of the glorified flesh to his people that have said, I don't want to be a slave. I want to be in you. I like you. I want you. I want to marry you. I want to be with you. It says, this generation that sees this generation of unbelief and this generation of believers shall not pass till all these things are fulfilled. Heaven and earth shall pass away, my words shall not. And this is where he goes into his feast day. The Gentiles don't, for the most part, get, because they keep trying to understand it according to their worldview and their nation and their understanding, and not according to Jesus the day. But of that day and hour no man knoweth. That is the trigger point where everybody listening to this would be like, oh, a wedding. Oh, a wedding. It's a wedding. Does it sound familiar? Are you going to be getting married to Christ? Did Christ get married to anybody else when he was here on earth? No. Is he going to get married to someone? Yes. On the day when I get married, I'm coming to get you, the people I'm going to marry. In other words, And my Father has the honor of saying, now we've deployed the plan. We're going to deploy the plan that we came up with. Do you seriously think that God in human flesh doesn't know something? Again, read the book of John. It affirms that Jesus knows all things. And then he talks about division. For as in the days of Noah, so shall also the Son of Man be. Rival kingdoms. A division is coming. Do you understand what I'm saying? For as in the days before the flood, they were eating and drinking and marrying and blah, 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 partying, all this stuff until the day that Noah entered the ark. You and I have entered the ark in that we have become part of the new creation in Christ. Jesus is our ark. The renewed covenant is our ark. You understand? And they knew not until the flood came and took them all away. This has to be talking about the Feast of Trumpets and the beginning of it, because they're not going to be partying in the 21 judgments and having a good time in the tribulation. It's going to be death, 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 judgment, death, judgment, death. They're not going to be taking the mark of the beast, breaking out in sores and being like, hey, baby, you want to get married now? You have to understand and go by Jesus's timing, and he's not telling it in order. For as in the days before the flood, they were eating and drinking, marrying, giving in marriage until the day that Noah entered the ark. There's a division coming. And they knew not until the flood came and took them all away into death. Into death. So also shall the coming of the Son of Man be. Division, 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 division. He goes on to give you 3 examples of division, friends. There shall be 2 in the field, one shall be taken and the other left. When they had Feast of Trumpets, if you were out in the field and they blew the shofar and you didn't come, guess what? You got left out in the field. That's where this is coming from. 2 women will be grinding at the mill. One shall be taken and the other left. If you're taken to the wedding. If you're left for the kingdom of darkness and the coming murder. Yay, that'll be so fun. No, it won't. Watch, therefore. Watch for what? Watch for the feast days and watch for your inheritance. For you do not know what hour your Lord does come. Okay, this in the English sucks. I'm sorry, it just says. If you look in the Greek, it says that you fail to appreciate when you look at the Greek word. He's saying there are some who don't understand, because you don't understand how he's doing this with the feast is what you can get out of it. This is a bad translation. This is a copy of the Bible. This is a bad translation. For you do not appreciate what hour your Lord doth come. But know this, that if the good men of the house had known in what watch the thief would come, he would have watched. He's detailing now how when people fail to understand his feasts and they don't get born again, they don't understand when the thief is coming. So let's see, let's just say husband is unsaved and wife is saved. He's doing the very thing that Christ, he's neglecting the thing that Christ said not to neglect. And his wife is going to get snatched away. Why? To get married to Christ. And probably the parent covers the children. I don't know exactly how that works. But if he's not born again, he ain't going. So there's a judgment being dealt with here? Yes, friends. And I'm not angry. I'm just intense. He would have watched and he would not have suffered. Look at this. Suffered his house to be broken up. Division, division, division. Therefore, you also be ready. In the Greek, it's like the things that you should have done in order for this need to have happened. And you go back to your core doctrine of the magnum opus of what God was doing, making one new mankind in Christ. Your justification, your sanctification. Why? Because he's coming to glorify you. For in such an hour as you fail to appreciate, that word is used here again, the Son of Man cometh. Who then is the faithful and wise servant whom the Lord hath made ruler over his house to give meat in due season? I think that's spiritual meat. I think we've talked about that before and looked into that. Blessed is the servant whom his Lord, when he comes, finds him doing so, teaching the Bible, showing rebirth, directing people to the magnum opus. Get born again. Be ready. Pay attention. Verily I say unto you that I'll make him ruler over all his goods. And if the servant, and by servant, just think his creation, shall say in his heart, my Lord delayeth his coming, and he shall begin to smite his other servants and eat and drink and, be naughty. The Lord of that servant, the Creator, will come into that creation in this day of judgment, in this day of division, in a day when he's not looking for him. You know why he's not looking for him? Because he don't believe him. Because he's not born again. Because he doesn't have light. Because he's not a child of the light. He's not listening. And in an hour that he is not aware, finally, not aware, doesn't get it, doesn't appreciate it, doesn't understand it, what's going to happen? We're going to cut him asunder and appoint him his portion with the hypocrites. And there shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth, regret, sorrow, pain, actual tears, gnashing of teeth, pain, suffering. Why are they going to cut him in half? Guillotines. Guillotines is why they're going to cut him in half. Because he's a fake Christian, or he's just an unbeliever that didn't get it. There's a division and judgment coming. Instead of getting into Christ's ark of salvation, they got into the world solution, which is Babylon and a bad idea. Anyhow, thank you so much. God bless you. Join me for the next one. We'll keep going.
I can't wait for one day to come home so I can
Wrong moon, but that's okay. Like a thief in the night.